everybody, and welcome back to the Josh and Reece podcast. It is your Monday night podcast where we talk all things football. A lot to talk about, from the Premier League to the Championship, and a lot more. And I've got my two classic, very knowledgeable guys, the smartest unpaid pundit I have on in the film world. First of all, it is a Welshman, a man who loves saying everything is a disgrace. His football club doesn't really know what it wants to do with it. And it is Nathan on the talk about all things football related. So Nathan, how are you feeling?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Thanks for having me on, Josh. What a shambles of a week, let's just say. In all aspects of everything. Sure, it's going to be a good one tonight. Thanks for having me on.
And then down below, we've got Mr. Cocky, Mr. Guy. He says he knows it all. He says
He does know it all. He's a genius.
He says the chaos follows him. He doesn't follow it. And there's obviously Reece. Reece, I've not spoken to you in actually quite a while about a lot of things. So a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, I think we haven't spoken nearly a month. The three of us, including Doug, Mr. Kyle, who can't join us. He might join us. We never know. We'll see. But at the moment, we don't know. But yeah, the five of us haven't spoken in nearly a month. I feel old. Nice. Or maybe it's just you've gotten better.
Yeah, well, I've definitely got older, that's for sure. Quite literally. Hello, Yelly boy. Thank you very much for coming in. Hello, Helly. Obviously, me, you were just having a good on talk into another for the last hour. No shouts in the podcast. Me and Reece do generally disagree on something, but I can't say. Anyway, let's start off with. I think there's only one place to start off. Obviously, there was a manager who was officially sacked last night in the Spanish. Rafa Benitez. He officially lost his job after Everton lost to Norwich City 2-1. They were 2-0 down within 20 minutes against a very, very, very poor Norwich team. And the goals that Everton conceded were weren't very good. Hello, Doug. How you doing?
Get on here and join us, you. Get on here and join us.
Right, so Reece, I will start with you. Obviously, before the season, before ball was kicked during the Premier League season, you were saying that Rafa Benitez was not going to survive this season at Everton. He was given a 3-year deal. He has only just lasted about 7 months. The fans didn't want him from the get go. It seemed like a toxic appointment, and everything has unraveled, but it's unraveled in the worst possible way. And he probably should have been sacked a few weeks ago.
Yes,
and there's obviously Doug has just made a reference to the Everton ex-manager, but we will get on to that. We will talk about Rafa Benitez first and foremost. For Rafa Benitez, it was very clear that whatever he was trying to do with his Everton team just was not working. He tried back five, 3 in the middle, 4-4-2, just nothing was working. And obviously, he fell out with Lucas Digne, which is weird. They just sold one of their best players and sacked Rafa Benitez in the same week, which is a bit mind-boggling, but that is what it is. Was this just not a good fit for Rafa Benitez? This was just a squad that just could not play his style, or do these problems run far deeper than what Rafa Benitez has?
Well, I did say at the start of the season, it would only. I did say at the start of the season, and I was right that he wouldn't last. But my exact words were, he would only last if Everton actually build and work towards him. If they don't work towards him, it's going to fail. Because Rafa Benitez is one specific style of football. He looks for specific players. It has to be very tactical, strong, bullish players, but are able to at least get on the ball and attack when they're on the counter. They haven't necessarily done that. The only one you could realistically say has come in and done, I think, surprised us all, is Demarai Gray. But he's slipped off a bit now. He's slipped off, and that says it all, really. But whenever we're actually playing well, they were winning games, he was at the centre of that. He was actually playing very well. But it got so toxic. The atmosphere, the dressing room is so bad. Obviously, I listened to Redknapp and I listened to Roy Keane again this afternoon. I just wanted to go back and double check what they said, because, even though I watched the game, I couldn't remember what they were speaking about. But Keane was right about the characters in the dressing room and all that, and it's just so toxic. And then Jamie Redknapp said it was an absolute howler of an appointment. They got it completely wrong. He isn't wrong. I even listened to after this, for anybody watching, including you two, honestly, listen to TalkSport. I don't normally listen to them, but I went on their YouTube channel and there was Everton fans talking about it, and they were just ripping the piss. It was Sawyer, Stone, and Murphy, the three of them were just chatting about Everton Benitez, and then they asked the fans, and most of the fans, obviously Everton fans have got their own opinion. Me as a neutral fan, I've got my own. I do actually agree with who should be their permanent manager, which we'll come on to very soon. But if you don't fit to a manager, they're not going to work. It's the same as Tottenham with Mourinho. If you don't work to Mourinho, you're going to fail. Mourinho at Man United, even though he won a couple of trophies, they went against him, he got the sack. So there's another reason, and it could end up happening at Roma. And it's happened the exact same way with Benitez at Everton. If you don't work to Benitez's strengths, you're going to fail. And it didn't help that when he was a Liverpool manager, he called them a small club. Everton aren't a small club. Everton have got a rich history. They're a sleeping giant, just like Aston Villa. But the difference is, which club are you most likely to say is going to be in a better position to maybe win a domestic trophy, like a cup? You're going to say Villa because they're more keen. Deep-rooted problems. Nearly £600 million spent in over nearly a decade. Their highest position was £70 million spent under Ronald Koeman. They finished 7th. Since then, what have they done? Virtually fuck all. They're going downhill, and it stems from the ownership, losing Marcel Brands. Then obviously Luca Digna's situation, good player, just didn't work out. And then obviously Benitez 5 days later, sacked. End of the day, they are fucked. Doesn't matter who gets the job, they're fucked. I put it on because it was on my recommendations. So I was like, I'll just switch it on for a laugh.
We will come to
Natalie Sawyer's good looking though, so.
We will come to Everton's next match in a minute. But Nathan, I'll come to you. When you look at this Everton squad, all right, their midfield is very good. Now, obviously, the loss to Dominic Calvert-Lewin was a massive loss to them, and obviously, Richarlison's been out to very talisman players for Everton, and Salomon Rondon has probably been as useful as a wet paper bag. I'm sure James Collins has probably been
Rondon, I'm sure. I mean, you just got to look at a way at what Rafa Benitez has done. He's sold pretty much their two best players, bought in Salomon Rondon, and left. I mean, you've got to look at the position that he came in with the club, which was still shaky because Everton has been shaky for quite a few years with some terrible decisions upstairs. They need a director of football who knows what they're doing to sort it all out instead of handing it to Mashiri, who just spends a ridiculous amount of money and then they just finish mid-table and now they're just going to teeter around the bottom half of the Premier League until something bad happens. I said this a few years ago as well. Everton need to make a decision. However, they want to be this big club pushing for top 4 Champions League, maybe pushing to even win a league. I mean, I probably sound crazy at this point. Or whether they want to be that mid-table to sort of relegation candidate team who's just surviving it like a Burnley or something in the Premier League. And I just can't see what decision they've made at all. And to be honest, I don't see the long-term plan. Millions down the drain. I mean, if they were a championship club, they would be in the bin, quite frankly, with their FFP. But yeah, it's just, where do they go from here? I already know who I think should definitely take charge of them, but my word, it's a shambles there.
Here's what I'll ask you. I'll start off with you, Reece. Is it when you look at that? When you look at all these defenders that Everton had, Carlo Ancelotti really struggled to get that Everton team, defensively solid. And I said, Rafa, he tried to play a back free in the middle to protect them. He tried a 4-4-2 and make them come back. He tried a back 5 and they conceded within 30 seconds of playing it. Everton have really bad defenders, and the goals that they were conceding, like the goal Michael Keane conceded against Norwich, you just cannot. There's nobody sure that Rafa Benitez. So, like any manager, whoever gets this job next of us, Duncan Ferguson, Wayne Rooney, Frank Lampard, or Roberto Martinez, he's being all linked. There's only so much you can do because that Everton defense, we said the last season under Ancelotti, and it made Ancelotti look like a bit of a bad manager. And now look what he's doing with Real Madrid. The Everton defense is a shambles for the whole back 4, back 5, even Pickford. He's actually been okay this season, but he has some mistakes in him. It's just no manage. There's only so much you can do with that, defense. Coaching will only take you so far with him.
Like, Ancelotti is a world-class manager, and he was managing average. If you're going to bring in a world-class manager, you bring in world-class players that fit his style. Like, Carlo Ancelotti is one of the most successful managers in football for a reason. He ain't stupid. And you can guarantee the Everton board didn't back him properly. Because if they backed him properly, I know it didn't end well, like the relationship between him and the fans. But if you actually gave him what worked to him, you would have actually seen a difference. Benitez, his style of football is practically outdated. It's outdated. It's not going to work. Whoever goes into that dressing room needs to get a lot of those players out because, like I said before, Everton are still a big club. Everton they're a sleeping giant, but you can't tell me that Everton can't attract good players. You cannot honestly tell me that Everton cannot attract good players. Because if you think Everton can't attract good players, then you really don't know football. Everton can. And they've got a new stadium coming in. You really want to go into a new stadium playing, but we had defence that includes Yerry Mina and Michael Keane. No, I wouldn't. I would rather stay at Goodison Park. Like that says all for me. Just if you want to go to a new stadium upgrade, you need to upgrade the squad with you, and they are not doing it. Their owner's rich, but he's acting like a Southampton. He's acting like the Southampton owner. That's what he's actually doing to me. He's actually, in my opinion, he's acting like the Southampton owner. He ain't going to spend. He had a good manager. They've got a good manager in Hasenhüttl as an example. He ain't going to get backed. He'll be made to work with a load of shite. Whereas Everton are far richer. They're not going to back their managers properly. They're just going to spend money. There's a difference between spending money and backing your manager. If you back a manager, you spend properly, not just spending money for the sake of it and then just making your squad worse. Everton have actually spent money and made their club worse. They're an embarrassment. So if you want to move on, you need to get proper football-minded people in there, or you're going to go even worse.
The thing about Rafa is that he lost his two best attacking players, and at a time he lost Demaya Gray too. Right. So he was missing 3 of his best attacking players. And the thing is, if he went out and played all attack, beautiful football, that defense would have shipped 5-6 goals a game. Yep. So he tried to play a system that restricted them, and they even conceded really bad chances against Norwich. And I do think Benitez was changing the system too much, which may play in effect, but he did it because he couldn't play the system he wanted. At Newcastle, he played 4-4-1-1 the first few years, and then he switched to a 5-4-1, and you could just tell how good that Newcastle team were and drilled, and they knew exactly what they're doing. The Everton defense was a shambles, and it's been the case under Sam Allardyce. It's been the same case under Rafa Benitez, Carlo Ancelotti. It's a difficult place to walk into. This is the question. So there's 4 managers who are linked to the Everton job. It's Duncan Ferguson until the end of the season. And let's remember, Everton are in a relegation fight. So
I think he's the best option.
There was Roberto Martinez, he is the big favourite to take over the job.
He will be an absolute disaster.
But he will also manage the Belgium side, so he will manage both teams. Which in a relegation fight, do you really?
I would not trust him on that regard. If he is, if he's interested in managing Everton and Belgium at the same time, then you avoid him. Even he's been there before and he got sacked. Don't go back to the X.
There is Frank Lampard. He is heavily linked. Everton have spoken to him, but it's unknown. I doubt that's going to be the case. And then if I want is Reece and Rooney, and we won't get to Derby situation a bit later, which is something Nathan pointed me to. So Reece and Rooney could be in the mix.
I'm glad I started watching more of the Championship.
So there's 4. So there's 4 main managers. Hello, Rich. Thank you for coming in.
To be fair, it's all because of last night. It's brilliant.
So. Lampard won't get it, I don't think. I highly doubt that. And I think Reece and Rooney could be an option, but I don't think he'll leave Derby unless they actually do get completely kicked out of the English Football League. So you've got Duncan Ferguson until the end of the season. Now he did in the 2 games that I think 3 games he managed. He got a 4. He bet Chelsea. I think he drew with United. Drew with Arsenal.
Beat us.
He bet United. He drew with Arsenal. He drew with Arsenal. I can't remember what the 4th game was. It's kind of gone out of my head. He did a good job, but with Everton in a relegation fight and with where this team is right now, is it worth taking the risk putting a legend like Duncan Ferguson in until the end of the season? Do you think,
yes.
or do you go with the experience for Roberto Martinez, who Everton did sack previously and would be doing a 2-man job? So it's not. There's not 2 good options. The options aren't great, but it seems like one of the 2 is Everton's going for.
Avoid Roberto Martinez at all costs. He's a shit manager. Like, he's one of the worst managers I've seen in Premier League history. Let alone he's working for a team that's overrated in Belgium. He ain't good enough. Avoid. You're better off actually going with Duncan Ferguson. Duncan Ferguson, at least for 5-6 games, get a feel-good factor back. Let them work around the club and get a good feel factor back, because those Everton players, I actually think the tactics were overly complicated, which is another thing. Managers try to overcomplicate their tactics for something that's very simple. Duncan Ferguson would literally come in and say, "Guys, we're going to play compact 4-4-2. We're going to play the ball quickly through the middle. We're going to play out wide, and then we're going to feed the ball into 2 strikers. If you do that, we'll score goals. We'll get points." Simple, effective. It's how we worked the last time. It's what he should do this time. Get Damari Gray, get Townsend on the wings, Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, if they're fully fit up front, get 2 solid central midfielders in there, and get a back 4 solid with a goalkeeper that actually can do his job, and that's not good, Jordan Pickford. But end of the day, yeah, I would honestly give the reins right now to Duncan Ferguson, and then end of the season, maybe Slaven. I don't think they're going to give it to Slaven Bilic. I know Doug thinks it's a good idea. I do as well. I don't see it happening. I hope to hell they avoid Wayne Rooney, because as much as I love Wayne Rooney, he's doing a fantastic job at Derby, and it'll probably be the greatest escape in football if they survive. It will be the greatest escape if he does that. But I want to see him go to a club, like if he moves on for Derby, I'd like to see him go to a club like Brighton, although I'm not particularly keen on them, but Brighton would be a good step up. Graham Potter's going to get a different job eventually. I think it'd be
because it's not the right club for him.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be a great step up for him, and then Potter can go and do other things. Martinez, I just think, is an absolute woeful decision. But for me, if you have to say it realistically, give it to Duncan Ferguson, because he's already done it before. He already works with the young players. He would actually give the young players an opportunity, because the players in the senior squad aren't actually cutting it right now, and they need to be reminded about their position in the team. But the only thing for me that's a concern is, if you get Duncan Ferguson in, are the players actually going to step up even more? Because we saw it before, they did step up, but he didn't take their shit. Will they do it this time longer than 4 games? That's my only concern. I don't see a mentality in these players. I think they're a bunch of bottle jobs.
Just to make a point here, the man who sits in bottom of the league, with Saint Etienne.
Claude Puel is the worst French manager I've ever seen.
He's literally sitting bottom of the French league.
He's so shit. He was that shit that he nearly ruined Leicester.
It's true.
And yet a Leicester fan is recommending him. That's why?
I think Yelly
That's
Boy
the maddest comment I've seen all year.
No, I think Yelly Boy's being sarcastic. There's no way. I think
Yeti Boy's a fun, strange one, isn't he? I mean, he's a good guy. He's a good guy, but he's so strange.
Love him, man. You've got two options. You've got the guy who doesn't really have any managerial experience to get Everton out of a relegation fight, or would you hire Roberto Martinez? He'll be doing a 2-man job.
Definitely not Roberto Martinez, and I know I'm going to get a lot of comments from that, considering I have a certain agenda against that manager for an obvious reason. I've got to be honest, it's got to be Duncan Ferguson for me. And second I saw that they sacked him, I knew it was like they got to get Doug till the end of the season. He knows the club well. As Reece said, he's going to get the youngsters through. He'll play a suitable style of football that works. He knows the strengths, weaknesses in the squad. He's literally been there for years. He's coaching the team under Benitez.
And he coached under Ancelotti as well. Ancelotti kept him on for a reason.
He did. And even before that, and in the interim games, I was so surprised that they didn't even keep him for then. Like, when Rafa... The thing is, the Everton owners are just obsessed with big names and big managers. Like, that Benitez appointment for me was the biggest panic appointment I've ever seen, or one of them at least. All right, Neil.
Neil understands. See, Neil understands.
Oh, that's brilliant. But yeah, like Doug does make a good point actually of Felipe Golfer, or however you say it. Good in a relegation battle, but it's Everton. That's the thing that worries me. Like, they need someone who knows that club just to get him out of it. Hibernate till the end of the season, then rebuild over the next few years, I think. But they've got to sort it out. Like, the owners need to get something there.
Yeah, he's the one that left Lille and went to Nice.
Sitting
You know what I
second in
think? You know, like just look at what Everton realistically could do, right? If he was given the role, realistically, play the 4-4-2,
Yep.
Pickford in goal. You're more likely to play Patterson at right back, like ahead of Coleman at the minute because he's younger. He offers more to the team in terms of an attacking threat.
Coleman's injured a lot as well, to be fair.
Yeah, I'd say Holgate and Godfrey at centre back. I don't trust Michael Keane, even though he's a former Man United graduate. I don't think Keane's good enough. Mikolenko, left back's obvious. Midfield 4. Townsend. I think you should stick with Allen and Decore, unless you put Andre Gomez in there as a creative threat beside Allen or Decore. Have one of them in there. Damari Gray on the left-hand side, and then up front, Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. 4-4-2 straight up, and it would work for them. They would actually get points. If he plays Alex Iwobi as a starting winger, then that's asking for trouble. That's asking for trouble. But I generally think Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin up top. Richarlison just playing off him because he's got more pace to his game.
Yep.
And then got Calvert-Lewin as the target man. Damari Gray and Townsend feeding them through. Get a solid midfield base. Get the back four solid. Get them nice and compact. They should honestly start doing better from there. They should. End of the day, 4-4-2 isn't a bad idea. 4-4-2 isn't a bad idea in a situation like this. It really isn't.
Well said.
Yeti boy, I'm not going to have that slander. Yeti boy, I'm not having that.
Everton could play a front three and of Alex Iwobi,
No.
Salomon Rondon, and Cenk Tosun.
That's horrifying.
This is why you lost to Nathan on Football Manager for comments like that.
It's a front three that you can actually feel. They could actually feel that front three if they wanted to. You've
literally just said a front three of one winger and two centre forwards. That's not. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? Guardiola's Barcelona from 0809.
That's like playing Lukaku on the wing. What's he gonna do?
That's what Rafa Benitez did. He played Rondon as a winger.
But that's what he shouldn't do. That's a mistake. Yes. That's a massive mistake. He should easily go in 4-4-2, low block, play on the counter, get Everton, get stuck in, which is what Duncan Ferguson did as a player. He could easily get these players motivated. Duncan Ferguson's a very good coach.
Absolutely true. And I just want to have a look at the.
Nathan's going to be in the warpath.
With some respect on that Cardiff, our Cardiff team that season was so underrated. It was like we deserved to win that game. Victor Camarasa, bang, outside the box, thing of beauty. But I'm just having a look at the Everton team now, looking at their actual registered players. I mean, there's so much dead wood in that team. They need.
Begovic needs to go. Begovic needs to go. Mina needs to go. Delph needs to go.
Sigurdsson needs to go as well. I know I have an agenda against him.
He has to go. He has to go for different reasons.
Yes, Tom Davis, another one as well.
Yeah, he's crap. Alex Iwobi has to go. They got mugged off. I'm going to say this now, and I love Seamus Coleman. Right, he's an absolute workhorse, but he needs to go. And yeah, Robin Olsen, Aston Villa on loan's absolutely funny. He's coming out of Sheffield United to go to Villa on loan. I think that's absolutely funny.
For Richard to know the difference between Sheffield Wednesday and Sheffield United, he kept saying Sheffield.
He should know the difference. He's a Watford fan.
Exactly.
But
his stripper club is used to playing Sheffield Wednesday like every 2 seasons.
The last question I will ask you two is, I expect your answer to this about Everton, but Everton, yes, they're in a mess, but there's no way they get relegated, is there?
No way.
No chance.
There's clubs far worse than them, like Burnley, Norwich. Even though Norwich beat them, Norwich are still worse than them. Like Norwich are in a situation where they're just never going to invest to stay in the league. Newcastle, you would expect to survive, but they're in they're in a difficult situation. Depending on how the second half of the season goes, and I'm not saying they'll get relegated, but Southampton could get lured in, and I don't think they will. Brentford,
Watford and Brentford are risk as well. Like Watford for me, especially. Like looking at unless they get rid of Claudio Ranieri, like we've said for ages, he's going to be out the door like that. I said March, I think, but I say just sack him now. I'd even say bring back Nigel Pearson, steal him from Bristol City. Or someone like that.
I'd nick Bilic. I think Bilic suits Bilic suits Watford more than Everton.
He'll keep them up as well because that Watford squad is actually quite decent. Like good, really strong squads. It just needs reinforce the defense and they're fine. Superb going forward.
Can we just make I just want to make this comment though against Newcastle when Mr. Sissoko went in and he did a classic Sissoko and skied it into the Newcastle stand.
Yeah,
it's just classic Sissoko. I looked at that, I was just like, yeah, that's Sissoko.
I do agree with Doug though. I do agree with Doug. Like Brentford will be fine. I'm just saying like injuries or loss of form to certain players could lure them into that trap. Southampton, I don't expect to be in it, but it's the same circumstance. They're both good teams. I don't think they're going to get relegated anyway. But for me, it's going to be Burnley or Newcastle joining Norwich and Watford in the Championship. If it's Newcastle, be prepared for a fucking party, lads.
Well, I do want to move on and talk about Newcastle next. Newcastle obviously were played against Watford, and Newcastle probably in control for most of that game, and then they concede a really, really poor goal. They can't keep a clean sheet, even at home in a situation where they're in a must-win situation. Saint-Maximin scored a fantastic goal.
Yes.
And then it was a fantastic finish, and then they still can't see out the result. They signed Chris Wood for 20 million. Don't know why. I really don't know why. I think that's a really bad, weird signing, but that is what it is. What do we think about Newcastle? We can see what Eddie Howe's trying to do, but you're seeing a lot of reminiscences of what Eddie Howe had at Bournemouth. He sets up as a team to attack. They're aggressive, but he just can't keep clean sheets. Eddie Howe's not a manager who has his team see out games very well. He didn't do that at Bournemouth in the years they were doing fine in mid-table, and then the one they got relegated. You're seeing a lot of similar patterns. And do you think he'll have time to? Do you think there's enough time for him to improve his team enough to keep them up, or are they looking a bit doomed at the moment?
Nathan, I'll give you the honours, pal.
It's so hard to say. Just Eddie Howe ball, like with what we've been seeing. Like the thing for me, Newcastle going forward is absolutely fine. I mean, Joe Linton, who we thought was just absolutely horrific for ages, he's starting to pick up now. So Maximum going forward, Almiron, they got so many great players going forward. Yeah. They're spending the money on Chris Wood, and in theory, yes, they did need that sort of backup number 9, but they're not investing it in the centre backs or to replace John Joe Shelvey. Like they're just spending money in the complete wrong positions. I mean, the board can probably recognise this, but I don't know if Eddie Howe can't. But they need an absolute leader in that defence, and unless they get it, they're in serious trouble. I mean, Trippier, good signing. It's just not what they need at the moment. They got to get that such strong leader, big centre-back in, which they still got time to do it. They've still got about 13 days to go. But
I'll put a perfect honest. If I was a centre back, I would actually end up kicking the ball into my own net. Like I'm not very good with the ball at my feet. I was a goalkeeper for a reason. I remember as a goalkeeper, I used to just put the ball on the ground and kick up the pitch as far as I possibly can and hope my strikers win it. Me playing from the back, me playing from the back would be like probably like David De Gea, just passing, just not having a bloody clue what to do with the ball, just kicking it and hoping for the best. Reece, what do you think about Eddie Howe in Newcastle? Is he going to pull a miracle? That's probably needs a miracle at the moment.
I think Nathan's absolutely spot on. In terms of going forward, they've got the abundance and talent. It's just organising a defence. There is a lot of issues there in terms of defence. The problem is you can only coach a team so much before you realise that you may as well just pack it in and walk away. Like Eddie Howe, I think in terms of getting this team fit and fire and scoring goals, pressing really well, he'll do that. But this defence, he shouldn't have to coach this defence to stop conceding silly mistakes. They should be able to work together, whether it be compact or when they're stretched out wide, or when they've got to press high up as a defence, or they've got to be close to the goalkeeper within 10 yards. It should be easy for them to dispossess a striker or dispossess a winger and retrieve the ball. Now, you ask, why did they sign Chris Wood? It's quite simple why they signed Chris Wood. Weaken Burnley. He's the, like, Dwight McNeil, Max Corney, 100% their best players. But Chris Wood is their focal point up front. Everything, like, in terms of an upfront perspective, goes through Wood. You take that away from them, they've not got anybody else there in that position that's actually realistically going to do the job for them. And we all know what Burnley's like. Burnley won't spend. So Newcastle have actually crippled Burnley's chances of survival by, I would say, 25%. Like 25% decrease in survival. That's how bad it is. What the fuck? I'm not having piss off. Like, I'm not having that. Like, block that account.
Yeah, get rid of that guy.
Jesus Christ.
God, what is wrong with some people?
It's disgusting. But yeah, in terms of Newcastle, it's the. I just don't know what Eddie Howe's actually going to do if he doesn't get that defence invested. I think Trippier's a smart signing, although I'm a bit pissed off that they were able to get him for 30 million less than United ever could. Even though I didn't want Trippier, it still pisses me off that they got him so cheaply. But the annoying thing is they don't have enough quality centre backs. And if you know John Sinclair, the Newcastle fan, he's very he's been on a lot of channels lately, and he's been very vocal about what's been going on. Like, make me a mod, make Neil a mod. I don't care, make us all a mod. Like, gotta deal with it. But it just disgusts me that Newcastle didn't recognise their biggest problem is in defence. It's not attack.
I don't know if you've got something else to say, or if you're just stop it. If you're actually done.
I was just putting in a comment in the live chat just so you can make some changes. But honestly, it just bugs me that they're all about, they want to make Newcastle better, and they want to spend money to improve the team. They're linked to Aubameyang, they're linked to Mbappe, they're linked to Martial, who Man United turned them down. They wanted Donny van de Beek on loan, and Van de Beek said their league position wasn't good enough, so he doesn't want to go to them, even though he was guaranteed football. Newcastle, realistically, you should have went and spent on your defence. And they didn't do it. All they did was bring in a right back. If you don't improve your defence, you're humped. Doesn't matter. You could have a Mo Salah in attack, a Lewandowski in attack, but you're not going to get very far if you have centre backs or defenders that are called Emil Kraft and Kieran Clark. Simple as that.
Kieran Clark. Just on a note about Burnley. Burnley have put a request in to postpone their game against Watford tomorrow night. If that postponement is approved by the Premier League, they're going to have 5 games in hand over fellow teams around them, which is
crazy.
Which is. I'll ask that question at the very end, because there's something I have to talk about at the very end of this. So the final thing I want to talk about, the second to final thing I want to talk about briefly is, of course, Paul
Dummett left back. Not to mention,
they're not even getting the Wales team.
They still have Matt Ritchie as well.
Let's talk about Manchester United.
Good about 8 years ago.
Let's talk about Manchester. Let's talk about Manchester United, the Red Devils from Manchester. No. They were teaming up at Phillip Park to come back to 2-2 draw with Felipe Coutinho getting the equaliser off the bench. It was a tap-in, but a goal nonetheless. Reece, obviously you're the one man I have to ask for this. Manchester United's game management is not a thing at the moment, and no matter who's at the back, in the back four for Manchester United, the mistakes are still being made, and maybe I don't want to go for the top here. I'm going to choose my words very carefully, but you can see that it's not about Ranwick. I'm backing Ranwick in a sense. Maybe the players are nowhere near as good enough as people thought. Yes, Solskjaer was not good enough for Manchester United, but it's definitely clear that Solskjaer was not a good coach and he should have done better. But it is very clear that these players have so many issues with them, and there's so many issues off the pitch in the dressing room with these groups of players, and some players are not happy with Ronaldo and whatever else. Like it's impossible for a guy to go in there like Randrick or like Solskjaer, even who your next permanent manager could be, and deal with all of these issues because it's showing on the pitch. Like, there's just no chemistry in the United team at the moment.
It is unbelievably bad. Like, I've got nothing against Rangnick. I'm going to back him to the very end. I back him over the entire squad, like, because the squad is just so abject. And the one thing that really annoys me is we were 2-0 up, and then we resorted to type. Like, we just went back to being shy and faded. And for the first 30 minutes, Aston Villa didn't have a single shot on target. They didn't, in fact, I'll go one further. They didn't have a single shot at all on our goal. Like, it just says it all, really. Like, for that first 30 minutes, we controlled the game. Should have had more opportunities to score goals, but the difference is they weren't really doing anything. Yeah, I agree. Jacob Ramsey is going to be amazing. He's brilliant. But in terms of United, they just resorted to type. They faded away like so quickly, and it disgusts me. Like, the mentality isn't there. I thought we're going to talk about Derby very shortly, in his interview, after the Derby game, is like the absolute best swipe at Man United I've ever seen. He wants characters in his dressing room. That sums up for me. Like, he wants characters. There's hardly any characters in our dressing room. And I'll agree with Hella. Like, the one thing there is like the subs. I agree. He should have made changes earlier. The Matic one, taking off the younger players, I think was a mistake. He should have left them on. Their energy was giving us more in the team. We needed them in the team. But also, he should have anticipated the Coutinho change. He should have made a midfield change when Coutinho came on. Would have stifled him. He didn't. He made those mistakes and it backfired. We went from 3 points to 1 point gained. I was annoyed. In fact, I will go on for 2 points dropped. Villa didn't deserve it. Villa didn't deserve the points.
Let me ask you this. So, from the starting tactics, obviously Randrick learned from the FA Cup game how to set up differently in the league game against Gerrard, and it worked. But as the game got on, Gerrard was out coaching Randrick with his changes mid-game. Was that safe to say?
He was. Yeah, he was. Yeah. Like, the interesting thing about it is everyone thought we were playing a 4-2-3-1. We didn't. We were playing a 4-1-4-1. We were playing Matic as the holding midfielder, and we played a midfield 4. It actually worked really well because we were pressing, but we were using the width. So it's what Rangnick wants to play, but it also fits into Man United, using wide players and getting them going forward. The problem is we weren't creating many chances from the wide positions. Elanga had a good game in terms of forcing defenders into mistakes, but he didn't offer any key chances. He didn't put any key passes either, like chances in the box that would have led to a goal. But he was still working around, which shows that we really do need to improve on the wide area. But the one thing for me is these players really need to understand what Rangnick is wanting them to do in terms of style of play. I don't think they're actually bothering to listen. I don't think they're working. And if they're not bothering to work, we're going to be in a far worse position in a couple of weeks' time, let alone next week. Because it just sums up the player's mentality. They resort to type too quickly. You can't do that. In professional football, if you're asked to do something by the manager, you do your fucking job. If we didn't do that at our jobs, we would all be sacked. Straight on the buzzer. We wouldn't even get an opportunity to defend ourselves. We would be sacked if we didn't do our jobs. And these players should be held culpable. If you're not doing what the manager's asking you to do, get binned, fuck off. Because I'm sick and tired of the bitching. I'm sick and tired of their egos, and I'm sick and tired of their lack of willingness to work. It's the worst Man United team I've seen in a long time, and I'm not joking.
Nathan, I'll ask you this, and it kind of backs up. Reece has kind of put me onto a good point here. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's management was he was a man manager. He didn't go in and demand things from his players. He wanted his whole idea of a message was, play for the United shirt, press, play good football, but there wasn't much tactical demand. Randrick is the complete opposite. He doesn't give a fuck about going down and play for a shirt. He wants you to do what he'll tell you what to do, and if you don't do it, then you need to you're going to be benched and left in the squad. I mean, we'll talk about Martial. Do you think that the whole Ole Gunnar Solskjaer man management, relaxed style of the inexperienced coaches that he also had for 3 years, is playing an effect on this? Because like Randrick's came in, he's a completely different manager to what Solskjaer was. Do you think that these players have been so used to this relaxed style of and not getting their ass beat, and now that Randrick's came in and the training sessions are more intense and being asked to do more, and it just simply can't be bothered? Do you think that Solskjaer's long-term effect of him being a more of a calm and relaxed manager has infected the players' mentality, and they're struggling to actually get used to a proper manager style?
Absolutely. I mean, I always say it. Solskjaer was in that job 3 years too long, and the longer that the influence was there, where he just got the players to be lazy, the lack of, as you say, man management, the amount of egos that were developing in the dressing room, just want to be leaders everywhere. The Ronaldo signing for me didn't help that because everyone just thought, oh, we can follow Ronaldo, we can just be lazy, and he'll just carry us to the top. And then Ragnick comes in. Egos everywhere. Players just can't be bothered because they're stealing and living. And not only that as well, they pick up their wages every week. They're not in any trouble of going down or pressing for mid-table or pressing for Europe. They'll get minimum European football, but it's like that they just can't be bothered at all. I mean, nothing is guaranteed in football, but at the same time, with the quality that they got in their squad, they can just be as lazy as possible and there just doesn't seem to be any passion there, urgency. They're just exploiting their wages pretty much, and just they're stealing a living and they're not pulling their weight. Just so many egos are there, and it's going to take a long time to sort it out, and a clear out is needed like mad.
That midfield and the fullbacks need overhauled, and
yes,
immediately overhauled. Like you just cannot. You cannot go into a league competition with a midfield that includes, no disrespect to Matic, but he's getting on. You cannot go in with an aging Matic that offers you very little after 60 minutes, let alone after that one game, 35. You cannot go into a league with Scott McTominay. Fred, decent player. To be fair, McTominay's a decent player as well, but they're not good enough for Man United, like in terms of like actually wanting to win trophies. We didn't lose that game, but I guarantee we would have got humiliated under Ollie. We would have got more humility than under Rafa.
Yeah.
And you cannot go in with Man United with an attitude thinking you're bigger than the club. Like you're not. Like you never will be. And the fullbacks aren't good enough either. Luke Shaw, Alex Telles, Dallo, Wan-Bissaka. You can go and spend. Fucking Pep Guardiola spent well over 100 million and brought in 3 fullbacks, and they went and won trophies. Man United could easily do the same if they had the mentality to go and win things. Overhaul properly, bring in elite caliber players, get the Deadwood shite out, get an elite manager to work with Ralph Rangnick in the summer, and get working. I'm sick. They've been babied. You were right about the laziness. They just babied, like bunch of pussies. Like no urgency, no will to win, no desire. Yeah, I think he is expected to be in the squad when he comes back from AFCON. And I'm actually glad about that. He can give a few players a kick up the arse. I'd like to see Alvaro Fernandez get promoted for the sake of proving a point that a left back from the youth team can get ahead of. I'm not going to tell us isn't a bad player. Neither is Luke Shaw, but they aren't good enough for Man United. If a promising youth player can get ahead of them and stay in the team as an example, it shows you have to overhaul your positions. So for me, it's all about spending properly. And that's where United have went wrong. Like in the summer, I don't care what United spent. If they spent 300 million with a new manager under Rangnick, overseeing it with him, I'd be happy. If we didn't, then fine. But if United go into the summer, no ambition to back their new manager properly, we are even more fucked. And I'm not joking. Even more fucked. And it looks like it's going to be Pochettino.
I don't think that's the best choice she could have, but anyway, that's
He's United's favourite for a reason. It's because of what he'd done at Southampton on a limited budget. If he comes in, I think the irony is right, because Woodward's going. Woodward still heavily likes him. I think Ten Hag would be the better option, but if Pochettino came in, it would actually expose the Glazers for 2 reasons. Further, it would expose them for they're completely obsessed with Pochettino, but they've never had the balls to bring him in.
Yep.
And it would also expose that this is their messiah. This is the one that they've always wanted. Well, they actually back him properly, give him everything he wants. I highly doubt it. and that would expose the bad ownership for like even more than what it already is. And I do agree about Doug about the admin. Our admin is fucking ridiculous on social media. The disrespect to Van de Beek even more. He needs to get out. Martial needs to get out as well. He needs to get out.
I'll ask you this, Nathan, before we move on.
Yep.
Will Manchester United get top 4?
No.
I'm struggling to even back them to get top 4 at the moment. Yeah, I can see Europa League as a minimum, and if they're not careful and not turning anything around, Conference League even worse.
Conference League. I would love that. I would.
The way our teams are playing, this is where we're finishing.
Possible.
8th. The way we're playing right now, no consistency, no interest, no respect to the club. These players could honestly finish 8th. And if we do, we get no European football.
No.
If we get no European football, these players actually deserve this. Because Man United should be playing in European football with players with players that actually want to be there, that actually want to compete at the highest level. The only one you could actually see right now that actually has the balls to come out and say it is Ronaldo.
Yes. I mean, the thing is, what they should be doing to encourage these players is put clauses in their contracts. Say, look, if you get us into Europe, if you get us into Champions League, which you should be doing, you will get a pay rise. Your wages will go up 10% each season. If you don't do that, it will stay the same. Like, what are the Glazers negotiating with these players? Same with their managers as well, and whoever organises the contracts. Are they just giving them a flat wage and saying, oh, you can come to Man United, here's your money, come on. But they should be like, no, this is performance-based. You start off here. If you get into Champions League, 10% wage rise each year, depending on how many years you're there. For every trophy, another 5% on top of that. That's how they get the best out of these players to push them over the line.
Absolutely, you want to feel motivated, and there's no mentality from top down to want to go and succeed as well. Like, I find it funny when people comment on us, and this is the stupidity of football fans that come at Man United fans for saying you only protest against the Glazers when you're spending money and you're not winning things. We were protesting against the Glazers when we were still winning trophies because we didn't want them. And that just shows the stupidity of football fans that they think it's because of this. It's not. We've been protesting against them for 16 fucking years. So there you go.
This is something I said on the Golden Show with George. I was like, George couldn't make it today. And obviously, at first when Ranvik came in, he was going to be captain, coach, staff, all the going to which was Michael Carrick, McKenna, and Mike Phelan. Now, McKenna somehow got a job at Ipswich. I don't know how. I don't know how Ipswich thought, he's actually a good man to take. Well, and I hope it works out for him. You got Mike Phelan, who doesn't even wash the train. Mike Phelan doesn't even wash the training sessions. He literally just sits there for the fun of it. He doesn't actually coach the team, and anyway, he literally just sits there for the crack of it.
True.
Michael Carrick left. Maybe he's seen something coming. So they all leave. Okay, now you get some coaching from was it New York Bulls? Okay, Ranvik obviously likes him. That's fair enough.
Right.
What in the right mind thought that Manchester United thought? Let's put the guy Darren Fletcher, who was meant to be our technical director. He came in as a youth coach. Then he was meant to be a technical director. Now he's Ralph Ranvik's number 2. How did Darren Fletcher go from a youth manager to technical director to Ralph Ranvik at number 2? Like, why is Darren Fletcher?
Armas is the number 2. Armas is the number 2. Fletcher's just fuck knows what he's doing.
He shouldn't be there.
I don't know what he's doing there. This is my thing about this. This is the thing that annoys me is the whole Rangnick consultancy role. Is if Fletcher's so obsessed with being a coach, then give your role to Ralph Rangnick in the summer, and just you get your coaching badges then and learn as a coach, instead of like trying to usurp the manager. He's getting on the touchline trying to coach the team that isn't even his to begin with. It's not his team to coach. Like, fuck me, he's an absolute tip, man. Like, he's a smart man, but fuck's sake, he's not a coach.
Darren Fletcher's just like he's just snuck his way through the United ranks, hasn't he? He's just been creeping up the ladder.
He's the reason Nicky Butt's not there. He's the reason Nicky Butt's not at the club, because he got the job that Nicky Butt wanted. Like, him and Myrtle snuck it from him.
And Nicky Butt's actually a decent coach too. I've heard good things about him. And
funnily enough, so's McKenna, isn't it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me! The Scum Club have scored.
Anyway,
Oh, yeah,
Fuck off,
They've
man! I
seen
don't want to.
Hello, Stephen. Hope you're doing very well. Thank you very much for tuning
Hello.
in. I hope sure you obviously had a good weekend. And hello, Mel. Thank you very much. This is the first time I've seen you in the channel in a very, very long time. Hope you're doing very well.
Fucking Celtic.
So the fan club I want to talk about is Chelsea. Chelsea obviously lost to Manchester City at the weekend 1-0. Chelsea have only won one game in their last 7 Premier League fixtures now. Really, really, really struggling to score goals, and they are shipping goals at the other end, which they weren't doing last season. No, I'll ask you this. Reece. Is a turning point for Thomas Tuchel? Is Tuchel starting to face the pressure that Chelsea managers always do start facing? There's no report. Chelsea fans back him more than the fact any manager that I've seen in the last 5 to 6 years by a mile. But he does not have much. If you look at the attacking talent he has at the moment, Pulisic is awful. Ziyech is awful. Lukaku he's a shambles. Havertz isn't fully fit. Timo Werner's only coming back from COVID. Mason Mount got benched because he's been poor. You know, if you look at a Chelsea team that has the potential, they just don't have the consistency. That's why we're 30 points behind Man City in the first place in the league. And if you're Thomas Tuchel, you're banging your head off a wall because, you know, we talk about coaching. Like, he's tried all these different attacking formulas. None of them are working. Like, you know, if you're a manager and none of your attackers are scoring goals, you have no hope. But it always comes back onto the manager. So it's a situation at Chelsea where he'll either turn it around or things will get really ugly really quickly.
To be fair, Ant's put the most spot on comment regarding Tuchel all night. He has over 300 million worth of talent, and one of them's called Romelu Luka Kardashian. Tuchel's a good manager, but I just look at this Chelsea team and all the talent they've got, either they're not playing for him, or there is such a poor communication barrier about how he wants them to play, and they are not responding to him. I'm not sure what it is that's going on at Chelsea, but it's underlying, it's similar issues. He's went from the 3-4-2-1 to playing a 3-5-2 just to get that big lump of shite to score goals in his team, which he's failed to do anyway. He's then switched to a 4-2-2 because his heroes in the league now. He thinks he can try and usurp him. That's actually backfired. I think the problem with Tuchel is he's actually having the same issues that previous Chelsea managers have done. He's been chopping and changing. He's not sticking to certain players. He's having to rotate too much. Well, and he's not actually got... I don't think he's got as much control as previous Chelsea managers did. I actually don't think he's got enough control to make certain decisions.
The rotation, the only reason why he played a back 4 was because he didn't have any other centre-backs, because Chalobah's got a hamstring problem.
But if you play a back 4, you don't play a back 4 with Callum Hudson-Odoi as your right back.
He had no one else. That's the thing, because Azpilicueta had to play centre back.
What about Reece James? Is he alive?
No, he has a hamstring tear. He's out for 8 weeks.
Oh, does he?
He's out for
promote from fucking Cobham. You've got the best academy in England.
There isn't. I think at the current moment, the academy is probably at the worst it has been in terms of players who are able to come through yet. Lewis Hall, who played against Chesterfield, look at he's 17. You can't have him go from the reserve team into the first team as a starting left back.
This is why you need recall fees on certain players like, I don't know, Livramento.
Well, we do, but it doesn't come in fact until the summer. And I understand what you're saying. I think there's a mixture between. I think the rotation of system came down to injuries. I don't think there's. And the 4-2 against Spurs, that was just down to the injuries. He couldn't physically play a back 3. And, you know, when he had the chance to play a back 3 against City, he did, because he played Malanga Sarr, Thiago Silva, and Rudiger with Alonso. And Alonso, could we just say, was getting rings round him by Sterling all game long. Alonso didn't know where Sterling was half the time. And Azpilicueta, it's just past it. There's nothing else Thomas Tuchel can do. Now, the Chelsea's board, the Chelsea in their boardroom with all the money, thinking, let's get Kennedy back, shall we? Let's recall Kennedy from Flamingo. Kennedy's going to be our solution to left wing back, which is
This is my
Terrible.
problem with This is my problem with Chelsea. Is you're actually doing what Man United made the mistake of doing. Man United made the exact same mistake, and we didn't refresh the squad properly. And when we did refresh the squad, it wasn't with good players. You're relying on your old guard far too much. And because you're relying on the old guard far too much, it's actually causing even more division in your squad. And it's given younger players the thought that actually, why should we bother be here in the first place? Because we're not going to get the opportunities. It says it all right, and this is no disrespect. It says it all that Fikayo Tomori's gone to Italy to play in a team that's 2 points off Inter Milan in Serie A, the highest quality Serie A with AC Milan, then fight for his place at Chelsea because he knew he was never going to get ahead of Aspilicueta because they rely on him too much. That says it all for me. Chelsea rely too much on the old guard, and it's come back to haunt them. The only player of that age that you can physically rely on that's actually reliable is Thiago Silva. Aspilicueta is not reliable enough anymore. He isn't.
To Jan's point about Chelsea squad depth, I think the names big names by market, but the quality that they had, they're just not. I just don't think they're Premier League quality. Ziyech, since he's came in, has done. He comes over a good goal there and land, but he's not a Premier League standard player. Pulisic has been dread awful this whole season. I think Werner's actually played well. He's been hit hard by COVID. Like, he's got long COVID effects.
Werner's been disgraced by Rory Jennings, the Brexit Chelsea fan.
Werner, I'm okay with. Havertz has been fine. Tuchel's been careful of them because they've still got COVID and they are still quite young, so that's fair enough. Lukaku's just been a disgrace. I just do not like Lukaku at all at the moment. I think his attitude, he doesn't suit the system. I think Tuchel's trying to adapt the system too much to Lukaku, but to try and have him perform in the team, which I think is why the goals or chances being created isn't the same. But at the same time, we're not losing. You know, when we lost to City, that was our first loss in 6 games. We just drew 4 and 1-1. So, you know, we're not actually losing games. We're just not winning them. And I still think Thomas Tuchel's system is working. I think Thomas Tuchel's system is working. I just don't think the players and the front side of the pitch are fine. The defense for me, other than the 2 wing backs, which is Alonso and Azpilicueta, haven't been good enough. And the midfield's incredible. Still, the midfield's absolutely fine. It's just the front three of whoever it is just isn't performing on a consistent basis, and there's just no goals. There's just no goals in that team whatsoever, and that's where I concern.
The funny thing is I warned you in the summer that Lukaku would flop. I warned you. Everyone's like, Ronaldo's going to be the flop. Ronaldo's going to be the flop from Serie A. I went instantly, no, it's going to be fucking Lukaku. Just watch.
And I know you're the biggest wind up in terms of YouTube comments, but I think Further's open play presence is really good. He just struggles to finish chances.
Werner's a quality player. The problem is you just don't play at his strengths.
I said Chelsea by name and by market value. Yes, have a good squad depth, but the players are not performing to the level that they should do. You know, like we still have Ross Barkley on the bench these days. You know, Ross Barkley isn't anything special. Stoll's actually been okay. He's actually starting to up it a wee bit. But Hudson-Odoi, Christian Pulisic, Hakim Ziyech, Romelu Lukaku, they're just not performing. And Tuchel just doesn't know what his best front three is because none of them are consistent enough, and that's the difference between City and. Just the difference between City and Liverpool. They know what they have consistently good attacking players, even when they go into the depth. Chelsea just don't have that, and that's where it is. But and it's where on the Premier League talk. We're going to go to Ross Barkley Ross Barkley for 35 million. That was Everton robbed us.
Robbery.
No, you got robbed by Leicester signing Danny Drinkwater for 40 million.
No, I don't. Ant will literally rip your head off if he hears you talk disrespectful with Danny Drinkwater.
Ant can come at me all he wants. Drinkwater's pish. He's utter shit. He knows it.
We're going to move on to the Championship. We've got 2 things to talk about in the Championship. First of all, of course, we're going to talk about Cardiff City, who did lose to
Blackburn. Yes. Guys, grab your popcorn.
Who did lose? Now, Nathan, since we last did a podcast on a Monday night, a lot has happened with Cardiff. Obviously, you play probably the worst FA Cup tie out of all of them against Preston, which was the worst game of football I think I probably watched in the last few months.
It was awful.
Behind closed doors in an old Championship FA Cup tie was arrested before the side. But you got Liverpool at Anfield. That kind of beat it up for it. So we'll talk about that.
9,000 up to Anfield is going to be something that we can actually look forward to for the first time. I don't even know in how long for a Cardiff City fan, but
if you're talking club football, are you sure about that?
I'd say so, yeah. First time has been exciting in a long time.
In terms of also, I said you did lose to Blackburn at home, but a game that you think you should have won, and also you've also seen some disgraceful refereeing at the Championship level. So, do you want to digress the last few weeks for Cardiff from FA Cup to relegation fight in the Championship?
Right, I don't even know where to start, quite frankly. First of all, that Preston game, good to see some experience going in there. Good squad rotation as well. To be honest, if we lost that, I wouldn't really care because we do not need a cup run this year at all. Like, we need to focus on the league badly. But we got through, secured an Anfield title, get a bit of TV money out of that. I guess that's always good. Blackburn, I think we were definitely the better team by far in that game. Blackburn just didn't impress me at all. They got their early goal thanks to some absolutely stupid defending from Cardiff and terrible keeping by Smithies as well. But I will say this one thing. We lost that game because of Mark Drakeford. If we would have had fans in the stadium for that match, we would have won.
Who?
Or even got a result. The First Minister of Wales.
Can I just say, Reese's face, he's like, who the hell is placed for Cardiff City?
I was like, who's he talking about? Then he said Drakeford. I was like, fuck me, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, like
never mind. He's I seen it the other day. Somebody compared Drakeford to fucking Stalin and fucking. They compared Nicola Sturgeon to Hitler. So yeah, Bruno's won trophies in Portugal and he's won a European trophy for his country.
Keep talking, Nathan, because Reece is going to rumble on.
It's fine. We've got all night anyway, but. Yeah, the amount we created loads of great chances. Blackburn just didn't generate it and took their opportunity when they could. And the players, they just didn't look bothered. It was like a training game for them. And there was just nothing there to drive them to go forward. And like, I've got to be honest, and Steve Morrison was absolutely right with what he said in his press conference. If in particular, the strikers, minus Kiefer Moore, because he's been injured, but if they don't start pulling their weight, then he is going to get someone in. Probably on a free transfer on a loan since we have no money at all. But he's absolutely fuming because since he's come in, a lot of the players just haven't been pulling their weight. They've been disgustingly out of form. And we've got some big games coming up. We got a 7-side derby this weekend against Bristol City. That's a must win for me. And then in April as well, that absolutely huge game against the Jacks. If we lose that game, God forbid, that will be the darkest day in the club's history. Calling it now. And I'd say it's more likely than ever that there's a chance we could lose that. Yes, they've been on extremely bad form and then themselves are going to be in a relegation battle. Things have got to change now. I mean, Tommy Doyle on a loan deal looks great. But
the City player.
The Man City player. I mean, Reece is probably like, at the moment.
No, he's a good. No, I watched him a few times in the derbies. So I watched him play a few times in the derbies for the under 23s. He's a good player.
Yeah, well, it's something we need. We need that creativity. I mean, losing Ryan Giles, bringing in Dramere is good as well from Leeds, but losing all that creativity and Giles second in the table for assists. Just we need to get the players back on form. Morrison needs to keep what he's doing and keep pushing them because they're just not giving enough at the moment. And yeah, we just get us to the end of the season, to be quite honest. This year's been a disaster.
Do you think the trip to Anfield well, obviously if you win the derby against Swansea, that obviously probably be the season high. But do you generally think going to Anfield, you just going to, even if you get smacked 4 or 5-0 at Anfield, do you actually just think this general trip at Anfield for the Cardiff City fans, being able to go in 9,000 and having the whole Anfield Road into yourself, just going to enjoy the trip? Do you think that generally is the highlight reel of Cardiff City season? And do you think that kind of just says everything else about how the league the league situation is.
It 100% would be. I mean, it's something we haven't had a lot to cheer about as a Cardiff fan in ages. I mean, we're coming up to nearly a year now since we've had actually something to be happy about, as in winning South Wales derby against the Jacks last year. Behind closed doors, of course, because that's just typical Cardiff, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I don't care if we lose. We get the TV money. We need it. We get something for the fans to be cheerful, happy about, and then just push on from the league. But I don't know. Concerning times ahead, considering, yes, the finances are average with the club. It is something to be concerned about, as it has been over the last 10, 15 years. But at the same time, we just... Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Hey, thank you for tuning in.
Mate, that comment.
Amazing. Oh,
But
that's a beautiful comment.
But yeah, it's just we need something to cheer about, to be honest, and get us to the summer. We need a clear out in the summer. We need direction from the owners as well, which we haven't got. And it's crazy to me thinking that we are now 11 years with Vincent Tan.
Yeah, Josh, can you see in the summer?
Awful.
Can you just give United Jorginho, Kante, Rudiger, Werner, and then we can just give you McTominay, Matic, Fred, and I don't know, some randomer like Phil Jones.
I take Phil Jones any day of the week. Honestly,
well, he was actually our best player against fucking Wolves. That says it all, really.
He's a player who has something to prove. Unlike the rest of the Man United team, he wants to show that he's still there. But yeah, I take him at Cardiff any day of the week at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Are you and your dad taking a trip to Bristol City?
We will be, yes. Number 6 of the season, which is good for us. Just don't lose. Simply don't lose, Cardiff.
It's like £35 a ticket, wasn't it? Is it a long trip?
No, it's not even an hour down the road. If you take out Newport, just down the road, and honestly, £33 a ticket is disgusting. I mean, they haven't even given us the whole stand. They've given us the top. They normally give all away fans this like one old stand that they haven't redeveloped yet, but they're covering over the bottom half of the seats and charging us £33 a ticket, which is more expensive than Premier League away tickets. Thieving Wurzels, honestly.
You're up there with Arsenal as a disgrace.
Completely agree.
In terms of tickets, you're up there with Arsenal. It's bad.
It's shocking. Sheffield Wednesday, League One, still charging £38 a ticket. Disgraceful.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Someone did ask in chat about that. I haven't told us we played Carrick away. Carrick Ranger. Carrick and Chin have the worst ground in the Irish League. Their pitch is on a hill, so like the pitch slants a wee bit. So it's like even in a kind of stance as it goes down. So when you're shooting up, you're running up a hill, like a slight hill. Glenavon were 2-0 down. We went 1-0 down in the first half, and we went 2-0 down, I think, in the 54th minute. And we scored in the 93rd and 94th minute to win to bring back a draw to 2 each. So that was something. And Mr. Douglas has decided to make an appearance.
Hello.
He's here to torture us with Liverpool chat. Be prepared. Just kidding.
No. I'm not here to do that. Just very quickly. Josh, Happy New Year. I haven't spoken to you 2 months, I think, it's something like that. Nathan, Happy New Year. Reece, Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it has been a while since I've last saw you. So the Fab Four are back. Obviously, we are missing only Mr. Kyle as well. And I've managed to get my own sort of space now, where I've got like a desk and a chair. So this feels more professional now.
I'm on my couch, so it's not too bad.
So moving on, Doug, you came over a good topic, and it's a bit more sad topic, but this is the one I do want to hear thoughts on. So Nathan brought us to my attention. I had to do a bit of research on what I've been doing the podcast, and that is Derby County are on the 17-day countdown streak to being expelled from the English Football League altogether. If they do not show that they have enough, if they show that they don't have enough money to show them until the end of the season, they will be kicked out altogether. Very similar to
that in the group chat the other day. I put that in the group chat the other day, like just how bad it's got. If they cannot prove any funding, if they can't prove any funding in February to last until the end of the season, they'll be kicked out of the league.
So, Doug,
it's
since Nathan and Reece done loads of talking, I'll give the floor to you to start off with. It's a 17 day. You think about what Wayne Rooney's doing with that Derby team. You know, there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of meaning. You know, they've been deducted 21 points, and now they're 8 points away from CFD with a long way to go, and they're playing some hella good football with basically a nothing team. So he's done an incredible job, but it was 17 days ago. It could mean nothing, and it's just terrible, isn't it? It's hard to describe, but it's not looking good, is it?
It's not. No. Look, Derby County were in the Premier League when I was growing up. Like, they were in the Premier League. They were a very, very good Premier League side. When you think about it, I remember the Derby County team under Jim Smith. He was a very, very good manager. May he rest in peace, of course. And then obviously Colin Tolland took over. And then obviously we had the very, very bad season when Billy Davis was in charge. And when obviously Paul Jewell was in charge as well. Wayne Rooney has done an absolutely magnificent job to keep Derby, basically, like, Derby have had so many point deductions this season. Like, you can probably count it. I think they've had about 21 points deducted 21. Or something like that. Yeah. So
and yet, if they didn't get those point deductions, they would be 11th in the league, 2 points above Millwall.
Yeah, and that is saying something. But Wayne Rooney has been magnificent for Derby County. Like, he has done an amazing job. And this is the thing, like, not many good players, very, very good players, I should say, walk into management. Wayne Rooney's been one of them. Yes, it didn't start well for him, but as the season's gone on, he's got that momentum going. And if Derby just get wasted like that, it will be a big, big shame. It will be a very, very big shame, because I actually think they're on the verge of staying up now. I really, really do. I honestly do think that they're going to stay up.
Yeah,
They're still waiting on a takeover. Apparently, I don't know if it's going to happen, but they really need to get somebody in right now to back them. Because under Rooney, if they got proper backing under another year, Rooney would have them promoted. I think
Rooney stuff gone quiet.
Yeah, the issue with that one at the moment is they've got 2 court cases coming up. In particular, the one with Wickham and the EFL.
Which is the big one.
That's the big one.
That's the big one, yeah.
Because the Wickham one
they're going to lose it.
Yeah, the Wickham one, they definitely will. Because that was the EFL's fault. That wasn't even Derby's fault that the points deduction went on late. But then again, they could lose that because of the lateness in finalising their finances. But it is really concerning. And the EFL are just a disgrace anyway. And I've highlighted that many times. Yes, they have the rules in place, but at the same time, they are way too strict compared to what the Premier League is in particular. Like Luton, I've seen before, have had over 40 points deducted. You've had Portsmouth, countless other teams as well.
Sheffield Wednesday got it bad as well.
Wednesday were destroyed last year.
Am I right in saying that there's been another couple of clubs that have been potentially getting points deducted or like big fines? I saw Sheffield United were one of those teams, potentially.
League One as well. League One clubs are getting that hit at the minute as well. It's just
I believe Middlesbrough are in danger as well, and there's one other club, I can't remember who it was, that are mid-table at the moment.
Shockingly, it's not Notts Forest. Shockingly, it's not Nottingham Forest.
I know, that baffles me. Reading, I think, have got off lightly because they've done years of just spending ridiculous amounts of money. They've had
I had an idea that Reading were under the sort of the influence of obviously like these bad dealings, but I didn't think the Middlesbrough were, and Sheffield United. I don't know. Are they? I don't know if they've got. Don't know if they've got new owners or anything like that, but. It's a sad occasion. It's a sad turn of events for Derby, and you hope that they somehow manage to get the funding to stay as a club, because they're gonna. We don't want another Bury, we don't want another Gretna two very, very good clubs who went under. We don't want another Macclesfield as well.
Yeah.
You just don't want
Hereford
these.
United, Chester.
Hereford United,
More
yeah,
big
yeah.
ones.
Hereford. I remember Hereford. Well, I don't. Obviously, I wasn't even born, but obviously, you see Hereford United beating Newcastle United in the FA Cup as well. So it's a very, very sad turn of events. It really, really is. But hopefully something will be, secured at least.
Here's the question I want to ask you: obviously with COVID, and we're having the same thing over here in the Irish League, where transfers, transfer fees and wages are going incredible. Over here in the Irish League, we've got free full-time teams now, to where a striker this is incredible. So Irish League fees used to be around 1 or 2K max for a player, unless a player went across the water. Like Shane Lavery, who plays for Blackpool, he left he's doing really well at Blackpool at the moment. He left Linfield in the summer. A striker who used to play for Porto down here, second from bottom in the Irish League. He scored 3 goals all season. He got signed by one of the full-time teams, Lauren, for 100K. So we went from 2K to 100K in transfer fees, and the amount of money in the Irish League now is ridiculously crazy. So where all the part-time teams, such as my club, Glenavon, are really, really struggling now to keep up with these big teams, and it could put Glenavon into a massive relegation fight when they were finishing in the top 3. Three seasons ago.
I seem to remember. I don't know if he came from the Irish League, but Jays Cabia, the Livingston player, I believe he came from the Irish League.
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
So my point is that the amount of money that is going around in football now, it's clearly an issue because it's crippling these lower league teams that just simply can't compete with ownership or with bragging rights or TV rights. Do you think the government and the English FA, the big boys, they need to have a look at how finances are managed in England, because we're getting to the point where too many clubs are getting at the point where their club may not even exist. We've already seen it with Macclesfield, we've seen it with Barry, Derby, or Reading next season could be in the same situation if things turned around. Bolton had the same issue. It's becoming a scarily common issue, and do you think that there needs to be a massive thing, if it's the football pyramid or how finances are done or new regulations, something needs to be changed?
If you can remember back last year, when they spoke about regulations, when it came to like the Super League and all the issues there, Gary Neville said he was in communication with the FA as a part of a team that was trying to organise ways to distribute funding, introduce like regulations throughout the whole pyramid, not just the Premier League, but from the Championship down. I don't know about you guys, but since then, I've not heard Gary Neville speak about it once. I've not seen any tangible evidence about what's going on. I think it's completely died down. I don't know what they're doing.
If I'm being very, very kind or very, very nasty, I wouldn't trust anyone at the FA with a barge pole. I would rather someone from like darts or snooker, like Barry Hearn, for example. Barry Hearn would clear out the FA completely. He would know what he was doing. At the top of FA, we have some incompetent people that are running the FA. We've got incompetent people running the PGMOL as well. And we've got incompetent people running VAR. I wouldn't trust any one of them. I would trust somebody who knows what they're doing. Barry Hearn, darts, snooker, enough said.
I trust somebody who works at a cashier in Tesco. For example, then
me.
I would rather trust somebody working for Tesco than the FA. Like, I don't see any hindsight. I'd go one further. I'd probably trust somebody at the SFA more. But then again, that's being run once again.
No. Neil Doncaster, don't start.
Yeah, but if you actually think about who's worse, I would take the lesser of two evils. I would take Doncaster. But see, it just sums up like there's no way going about the whole pyramid scheme. You may as well just let the pyramid die. Honestly, if you have no interest in investing to ensure stability of the whole pyramid, then you may as well just let the pyramid die. You may as well just let the pyramid die altogether.
In terms of when you talk about the FA, there's a question I seen in the chat. And it's, do you think, as I mentioned about Burnley obviously are going to have 5 games in hand if their postponement is approved for the game against tomorrow night. You look at how Arsenal got the door for the Derby postponed. It was with one COVID case, they just physically could not field the team. In terms of first team players, even though they could have used their academy perfectly fine. Do you think this season, especially into the new year, do you think the integrity of the Premier League of this season has been ruined by all of these postponements? Originally started with COVID, but then has changed.
This is completely fucked up. I'm sorry, it is completely fucked up. We're getting clubs that are getting games postponed for one COVID case. Bloody hell, Arsenal have just bloody sold Pablo Mari to Udinese, another defender.
Maitland-Niles to Roma.
Balogun to Middlesbrough. Honestly, is there any surprise that Arsenal are trying to get that game postponed? They got the game postponed against They got the game postponed against Tottenham. One COVID case. Yeah, one COVID case. Granit Xhaka is suspended. I think he's suspended for the Liverpool Cup game. Even that might not go ahead as well. This is completely mucked up. We're going to have to live with COVID. I'm sorry to say this, but it looks like we're going to have to live with this thing.
You're absolutely right.
We're going to have to live with this thing.
Hold on, Doug. The more you talk about Arsenal, you get called out with an Arsenal agenda, mate.
Can I just say, here's the intriguing thing. Boris Johnson's actually set to announce from next week. Now, you guys we'll try and keep our political opinion about this out because it could
fuck the Tories is the only political opinion I accept.
That's your opinion. The only thing. Now, England are reportedly from next week are actually going to cut the self-isolate. So even if you test positive for COVID, you do not have to self-isolate. As long as you're asymptomatic and you test positive for COVID, you're allowed to go around with your business as normal. To Doug's point, that is learning about COVID. So if you have COVID, as long as you're asymptomatic, you do not have to self-isolate at all. It's 5 days at the moment. It's going to be none if Parliament accepts it. So we'll keep our political opinions to ourselves about that. Do you
Hopefully
think
the Stalin region and the Hitler region and Sturgeon and Drakeford take the same approach?
If that does happen in England, do you think the whole postponement of games will just stop, or do you think the Premier League have shot themselves in the foot by saying if Arsenal can't field the team with one COVID case, it's mainly because of injuries? Do you think the Premier League have shot themselves in the foot because now they're going to have to treat every single team the same? Otherwise, it just looked really
shot themselves in the foot. I think that's a bit of an understatement, Mr. Bell. Yeah. I think that is a big understatement.
They've done an old yellow. Anyway. They've done an old yellow.
The Premier League will just look at it and go, "Ooh, COVID case," and then because otherwise, if they cancel it, then the team will just
big example of that, Nathan. The Bundesliga have not had one game postponed due to Omicron.
Rightfully so as well.
France as well. Italy.
You have these massive squad depths of all these teams. Like for me, and as much as I hate this football club, Leeds have done the right thing here. I mean, look at the amount of debuts that Marcelo Bielsa has given to all these youngsters to keep the integrity of the game. This is what needs to happen. If the teams outright refuse to play and they have the squad to do it, for me,
forfeits.
Anyone over the age of 18 should be at the club in general, regardless of what squad they're in, should be regarded as available to play for the first team.
This is the thing.
Fucking Birmingham play Premier League. Bellingham, for fuck's sake.
The Premier League have to get rid of this 25-man squad.
Yes.
Just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. Have the under 18s just, have some under 18 players, have some under 21s there. This 25-man squad is to have obviously people who are in, under 18s, under 21s, obviously they'll be in there automatically anyway. But this 25-man squad, the Premier League are going to have to look at that, because if you do get COVID, then obviously, you're going to miss games anyway. But you get injured, you're expected to have as big a squad as you can possibly have. So get rid of the Premier League 25-man rule, because I just think we're coming to a situation now where we're going to have to just live with this thing. You know, if players get COVID, they get COVID, and obviously get well soon to anyone who gets COVID as well. But it's just like we're getting a backlog of games now. We've had 23 games postponed because of COVID. That's too much.
I agree.
I think I will add to that is
How?
you look at the Portuguese. Sure, the you play. They were hit by COVID and they had to play with 9 men and 2 goalkeepers. The goalkeeper had to be outfield. They had to play that game. I don't think that should have gone ahead.
Mm-hmm.
But and then in La Liga, for example, so Doug follows the Bundesliga. I follow La Liga more.
Yeah.
Barcelona were massively hit by COVID, and they're one of the big clubs. They didn't get any special treatment. They only had 8 first team players available. They were made to play
and be their youth players.
Barcelona were made to play with their 8 first team players, and Xavi had to use a ton of youth. And La Liga said nope, tough, get on with it. And it just shows. It's just the English FA from the finances. From the
I hate you. I hate you. He's screenshotting my face reaction. The only reason I put that reaction is because Spezia scored a 97th minute winner against Milan.
Oh, madness!
Oh.
Yeah, see, that's why I reacted like that. I didn't expect you to screenshot it.
Sorry to dampen your mood as well. It's 2-0 to Celtic as well.
So the last thing I wasn't going to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it now. Doug. It is that second leg against Arsenal if it goes ahead, because you never know these days. I didn't actually watch the game, the first leg, unfortunately. But
you didn't miss much.
Well, this is what I was going to say. Regardless from what I heard from a few other YouTubers, apparently working so Xhaka decided he didn't want to even bother playing in that game, but it seemed like Liverpool never were really struggled to break down a stubborn Arsenal team. You got a good one. You got a good one against Brentford. Do you think the second? How do you feel about the second leg?
Just quickly on the Brentford game, I think it's a very good victory. I think we'd be kind of needing sort of a 2-3-0 victory, and we haven't had that for a while actually. So great performance, great win. I think the key was obviously Curtis Jones. I think I've always said this about Curtis Jones. Curtis Jones needs a run in the team. He hasn't had a run in the team.
I said that to you as well. I said I think he's got good potential as a Liverpool midfielder.
I think his development has obviously been disrupted a little bit by obviously having COVID himself as well. I am happy with his development. I honestly do think he will come good for sure. Oxlade-Chamberlain waits 8 months for a goal and then gets injured. It's just his luck. It's just his luck. But I was very, very happy with the win. I thought, look, I said in the chat earlier, I said Brentford, I don't think they're going to go down because I saw a lot from them yesterday that they are going to stay up. I think they'll stay up comfortably. They are in a bit of a sticky spell. I'll obviously admit that, but every team goes through a wee bit of a sticky spell. As far as the Arsenal game is concerned, that was one of the most boring 90 minutes I've watched from my team. Absolutely shocking, that game. We had no shots on target against 10 men. I think Neco Williams was the closest from having one cleared off the line at the end, and obviously Minamino missed an absolute sitter as well. But as soon as Granit Xhaka got sent off, Arsenal had a game plan. Go to a back 5, go to a back 6, just defend for their lives. But the problem is, we never looked like scoring. So
true.
I fully expect a bit of the same game tomorrow. Thursday. I feel like if it obviously goes ahead, because I know apparently Arsenal are saying it might not go ahead now, but
if Arsenal in any way, shape, or form attempt to get this game postponed, then you may as well just kick them out of the League Cup semi-final. I don't care. I honestly don't care. So any club that wants to get a game delayed or postponed just because it's a cup final for the same circumstance, I said this about Liverpool when like the same way. If Liverpool done the same, kick the fuckers out of the cup competition. And like if it was United doing the exact same, I'd want United kicked out. Because that's not integrity. That's showing a lack of respect to the competition, showing a lack of respect to the opponent.
Yeah. I was angry when we got that postponed. I really, really was. I thought that was going to go ahead as well.
if that game does get postponed, there's going to be a certain particular YouTuber who's an Arsenal fan who I don't particularly like. He's going to rant and rave on Twitter on YouTube about it. I'm sure everyone probably knows who I'm talking about.
Oh, is it?
You mean rant and rave, and that's why nobody's watching these shows? I don't know.
I think I've got him in a quiz on Friday. So yeah, good luck with Luca.
Yeah, you're showing him no mercy for me for a cheeky comment. Although to be fair, I had to explain a point. I've said it before. Like, he's a decent guy. But he makes some comments that really aren't necessary. And I'm like, that's your problem. Like, he is. I think we can all agree on that. He's actually a nice guy. It's just so many comments just aren't necessary that you shouldn't make.
Just enough. Yeah. You know that stuff. The game. There's fans fighting for the capacity added, isn't there? It's not.
It's a full crowd. Full crowd, I believe.
There's none of that 500 mark anymore, is there?
You're right though. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that. You're right.
Give me a minute. Let me just check the.
Yeah, we're back to full crowds. We're back to full crowds as of.
We are
today.
back to full crowds. Yeah.
As of today.
Brilliant, that is.
Yep. So yeah. Ibrox is going to be heaving for Van Bronckhorst when Van Bronckhorst wins the title.
Oh, still got a penalty. Shock.
3-0.
Yeah.
No, it's 2-0. 2-0 at half time. Apparently the second Celtic goal was a handball, apparently by Josh Doig, but
it's Celtic.
Who took over as Hibs manager? I don't follow the Scottish League as much.
Sean
anymore.
Maloney.
I've no clue who he is. I know Jack Ross.
He was funnily enough a former Celtic player, a former Hibs player, and he used to be Roberto Martinez's assistant.
Yeah. Well, one of his assistants, like
him and Henry.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else want to pick up anything? So I've covered everything I had on my list. If anybody's got any special,
I watched AFCON.
I've watched a few games, actually.
Well, Doug, I know you've already done a massive roundup of AFCON. If you want to give your shortened version, then go ahead.
It has been a very, very good tournament. It's been a very good tournament with a lot of controversy. A referee blowing up after 89 minutes.
That is the funniest referee moment since Chelsea getting screwed over by Barcelona in 09. Sorry, Josh.
He didn't blow it up early once, twice.
He blew it twice. Yeah.
85th minute, and then I think he got a Mali player was red carded as well. I don't think that was red. I thought that was a yellow. And then 89-40, he blows the whistle again. There's been a few brawls as well. There's a Ghana player that got sent off the other night for punching one of the Gabon players as well. Oh, and also, we have potentially the holders going out at the group stage. Algeria lost to Equatorial Guinea last night.
I've jinxed the Algerians. Yes.
I've seen some highlights of AFCON. There's two things that stood out. I think it was a game 2 nights ago. I think I've seen the worst ever football pitch known the man. It was. I don't think there was any grass on the pitch. It was just
I don't know, mate. I don't know, mate.
I know which match you're talking about. It is the Ivory Coast Sierra Leone game.
Yes, that's the one.
Was that bad mistake by the goalkeeper? I'm not surprised that the goalkeeper made an absolute howler of that. Yeah, you should have seen that pitch. It was like, do you remember Chelsea's pitch a couple of seasons ago when it was just basically a sand pit?
Yes.
Still is.
No, I wouldn't say that. It was like that. There was literally no grass whatsoever.
I can go one further. That is not the worst pitch I've seen. The worst pitch I've still seen to this day is fucking Ross County's pitch.
Yes,
I'm not joking. Ross County's ground is the worst field I've ever seen, and I've played on it. I have played on that pitch. It's fucking horrible. It's worse than Livingston.
So basically, as obviously I have seen people speaking about AFCON. This is the reason that the World of Football podcast has been put to one side, is because I'm focusing on AFCON. I've been doing loads of content. I just cannot be able to commit to the podcast. But I have actually said that the podcast will come back 7th of February. So if everyone's happy with that, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I've obviously had to put it to one side. as well. But it's just one of those things, and I'm hoping to do a few more watch-alongs. Hopefully the quarterfinals. Hopefully do the semi-finals. I'm definitely doing the final because that's on a Sunday. As well.
Yes.
I will. How about this? Because we've not done one since the Euros. How about for that we do a watch-along? Oyas, just watch that. Just watch the AFCON final and do it as a group watch-along.
Sounds good to me.
That'd be brilliant. When is the final anyway?
Couple of weeks.
6th of February, I think.
Aye.
That's when we're in Liverpool.
Couple of weeks time.
That'd be a nice one. Way back.
Who do you think's going to reach the final? I'm still until something goes horribly wrong. I'm still sticking with Senegal.
I think
until something goes horribly wrong. Nigeria, I think they're going to win it. I think they're going to win it though. I think Senegal will be against them in the final. But I think Nigeria will win.
I think Cameroon will probably get. I think Cameroon will probably get Nigeria in the semis. I think as well.
I'm back to full time now, pal.
Another thing with the AFCON, I said I have not been following it, but I just remember seeing a clip on Twitter when it was a striker who was like, if that was the defensive line and that was the striker and he still kept asking for the ball, he was literally yelling, he's like, "You're 10 yards offside for God's sake!" He's not going to pass the ball to you.
I've got one.
Yeah, I think.
I've got one serious question for Doug, right? By the way, and this isn't slander. This is genuine, right? Why is Mo Salah being so shite at the AFCON? Because he's and everyone's going to blame his team, right? Everyone's going to blame the quality in the Egypt squad. I don't. I just think he's generally not showing up for his country. Like,
I honestly think he's been isolated. I think he's been isolated. He's been completely isolated. Egypt have not been great, but the fact is, Mo Salah scoring the goal. Mo Salah scoring the goal against Guinea-Bissau was excellent. Guinea-Bissau were robbed in that game. It was an absolute wonder strike from the Guinea-Bissau player, and it was taken up for it by a foul, but it should never have been ruled out.
Yeah,
it should never have been ruled out. But no, I think as much as I can say, I think Nigeria have been excellent. Cameroon, the host, has been really, really good. Vincent Abubakar, I think that's now 6 goals now he's got in the AFCON, which is obviously making top scorer. Nigeria for me have been the most impressive team. Algeria, disappointing for sure. There's been a few surprises. Sierra Leone have been excellent. Equatorial Guinea have been very good.
Malawi
as well. So
decent.
Gambia, that's another one. Yeah. Mali. Yeah. So do you know what? I've really enjoyed this tournament. I really have enjoyed this tournament. And the one thing I've been enjoying is the interaction with African fans. They really love their football, and I think it's really, really excellent as well. I've been getting some insane views recently. Absolutely incredible from obviously doing the AFCON, because it's a niche market, and it's probably one of the most disrespected competitions that I can remember 100%. In the AFCON.
I wish it was a full-on summer tournament. Absolutely. When you do it every 4 years thing, you could, in a way, I'm not like with the AFCON, you can do like 1 year it's the Copa America, 1 year it's the AFCON, 1 year it's the obviously the Euros and the World Cup, like the following year. That gives every nation the following year a good opportunity.
Yeah.
I think that actually does work.
And also, Josh, did you know that Mendy hasn't played for Senegal yet?
He's had COVID.
Yeah. There's talk he could be back against Malawi on Tuesday.
Senegal had quite heavily go by COVID. When I know Koulibaly had too.
Koulibaly's had that. Senegal have been really poor. Senegal have been very, very poor this tournament.
The crazy thing is, though, Senegal, every tournament I've seen, they've always started really slow. But then eventually when they build up, you just see they switch on. Like they're such a good tournament side. Ivory Coast are the same. Like, I like watching Ivory Coast play. Nigeria, they're so consistent. My only concern with Nigeria is they lose a bit of their core, then that would be the danger. They lose if they could.
Ivory Coast have been very, very underwhelming so far. As well. Oh, Eric Bailly went off injured. Did you see?
Surprise.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Like, you could bet $1 million on Eric Bailly playing a full tournament and you wouldn't get the cash out.
Trace, Naby Keita's had 2 man of the matches for Guinea, and he's been outstanding for Guinea. So
he's so underrated. He's so underrated.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He is.
Aubameyang had COVID, didn't he? He had he had lung problems. So
Yeah,
He's gone back to Arsenal.
I was going to say he's back at Arsenal for medical inspections.
Yep.
I genuinely think he's fucked. But can I just say the highlight of the entire tournament isn't even a football match. The highlight of the AFCON was the undivided attention from Mr. Christian Eriksen. Because now he's back in the spotlight for good reasons. I hope, honest to God, he accepts the Brentford contract. I would love to see
I
Eriksen.
think that's a great move,
I agree,
especially with the Danish contingent there. Is it Norgard? I think Jonas Lusso's there.
Manager.
Is it Zanka? Matthias Jorgensen? He's there. So they've got a load of Danish players. Yep, Ayer. Yep. No, Ayer's Norwegian.
Sorry, my apologies. My apologies. But even just the manager himself, though, like Frank.
Yeah.
As well, it's fantastic. And Hella asking the question, does anyone remember Roger Milla? Mate, I still watch Italia 90 back just to watch the...
Cameroon. Yeah.
The way they, I always go back and watch it, but the first game, Cameroon versus defending champions Argentina, they killed Caniggia. They killed him.
Can I just say sorry, Josh? I didn't actually expect to be interrupting your podcast for AFCON, so I apologise. I apologise for that.
It's good. That's what it's all about. It's football.
This is probably been one of the best podcasts I've done. Just the whole interaction when the show's flowing. It's just people come on here and talk a load of rubbish. They can come talk about hockey or whatever it is. I'm really
Josh. There's a reason for that, mate. There's a reason for that. It's because you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember, I remember that podcast where a certain comment was said. You ask questions, you don't know what you're talking about. unlike that YouTuber who bores me to death after 10 seconds, you don't.
No, see, the guy you're talking about, the NFL podcast we did last Wednesday, it was the worst ran podcast I have ever had in my life. He started off the stream by playing the wrong intro. And then he started introducing everyone, and he called it. You know Brett Reece, don't you? The American.
Yes, Brett. He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
He called Brett Brat. He said,
I call him Monzy. Monzy.
Oh God! Like I've watched one video from him, and I honestly can tell you, I almost fell asleep. His voice.
He's so boring. He's so boring. Like I used to think Boris. And I'm not joking. I used to think Boris Johnson was the most boring human being, like to speak. He changed my opinion in 15 seconds.
Where are we going to do this? Where are we going to do that?
Yes, I'm going to consume my nose. I'm going to my cheeseburger.
On the bright side, I've got a fair few people who I can do NFL shows with, thanks to him, especially a guy called Freddie. Freddie's actually...
The best bet is you've pinched them all. I love it. You've pinched them all. Freddie's actually a Plymouth Angle fan who we got the FA Cup, so I'll look forward to it. Reece, you've seen the comment from Paul. Go ahead. I have. Paul, all I'm going to say to you, mate, is Eternals is living up to my expectation. Just wait for next week, mate. Just wait. I'm not going to say anything else. I read the comic books. I already read the theory stuff about where they're going with it. Just wait for the film as well that's going to happen.
Guys, I'm going to have to go, unfortunately. I'm actually on Leicester Till I Die at 9 o'clock. So I'll have to go and get prepared for that. But it's nice to be back on a podcast with you three. Let's be honest. It's nice to be back on.
It's been so missed. I've missed this. I've not done a lot of streams. I've not done a lot of streams, but I've been dealing with shit that I've kept quiet. But I'm just glad to be back on the YouTube scene. I've done a few gaming streams. I'm probably going to do a few this week. It just feels good to be back in that environment. So yeah, I'm honestly
Hello?
I'm just good for it. But in terms of Yeti Boy's question, who are we on about? Honestly, mate, you're better off not knowing who we're talking about. And that's the kindest thing I could ever say.
I do back that point, but we will wrap the show up there. So for everybody, I said Doug, the World of Fun podcast is off until the 6th or 7th of February or something along those lines. There's too many dates going on in my head.
The 7th.
Monday the 7th of February.
So the Josh and Reece podcasts will be on this channel up until then. We could all actually thank you, Nathan. Nathan messaged me on Snapchat originally to say I wasn't originally going to do it because I thought it was too short notice. But Nathan, we can all give Nathan the credit. So we will wrap it up. Nathan, what's come up on your channel? What's your final words?
So this week on the channel we got that Bristol City vlog that will hopefully be out on Saturday night. Got a nice midday fixture for that. I absolutely hate.
Oh heck, that's a derby, isn't it? Is that the?
It is Seven-side derby.
Seven-side derby, yeah.
Yeah, don't you dare lose Cardiff. But honestly, it's not as bad as a derby that's coming up in a month or two. So yeah.
Cardiff Swansea. Ooh.
Yeah. I remember the certain fact about that fixture, which is very concerning, let's just say. But yeah, looking forward to it, but at the same time, absolutely no way am I looking forward to it. Subscribe channel link in description below.
Doug, obviously you've already said you're the AFCON correspondent for the tournament, so if anybody wants any AFCON news, you're the man to go to. Definitely not me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna be trying and doing a few roundup shows that I did. My one I did on last night actually did really well. So I think I'm gonna do that again. But yeah, AFCON, Premier League, Bundesliga, SPFL, Premier League predictions. Oh yeah, Nathan, check your DMs. Yeah, just everything basically, everything from that as well. So yeah, sub to my channel, and if you get any more watch alongs, I'll obviously let you know.
Congrats on 1.6k as well. Good to see.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm gonna say this now. Before the middle of June, you'll have 2k subscribers. I'm gonna make that statement live as we speak. I can see Doug's face is thinking. Doug's face lights up even thinking about it. Reece, obviously, me and you've got a new series starting this week as well. Me and Reece will be doing a tier list on every single position in the Premier League, starting from goalkeeper moving up. Me and him will be ranking. It's a new tier list series that me and him are going to be doing, from managers to goalkeepers to strikers to midfielders. Something like that, along with our predictions returning. I wanted to wait until the Premier League games were back in full before going back to predictions, because it could be bothered doing predictions for games that weren't going to happen. It was a waste of our time, especially.
I can't wait.
So me and Reece's podcast will be back in full effect in that sense. Me and him are going to disagree on so many things in the tier list, so that's the whole point of the show. Any final words from yours?
Quite a few actually. For me, Mrs. Morgan, here's the hat. Because I can see that request was in there, funnily enough. Second of all, if like myself, who didn't make this decision, although I did, in the end, if you are struggling or having issues and you don't feel like talking to anybody, honestly, make the decision to speak to somebody. I didn't. Backfired massively, affected me a lot. So I'm now doing that a lot more. Also, in terms of like streaming, I'm going to be back on Twitch tomorrow. Not going to do it tonight. I've got one more stream to do with Stephen at 9 o'clock. So that's going to be fun. Hopefully not 4 hours, because I don't want to look like I was exhausted as I was last night. Weekly Armchair, back there, we're actually moving over to All for United in terms of our Man United content. So that's a great boost for us as a channel. World of Football podcast will be back soon. Don't worry. Spamming your Monday nights with top quality content and George's bitching. And last but not least, what's that old saying? Oh, that's it. If you're a cunt, fuck off.
Everybody, please check out the guys' description channels and Twitter's in the description below. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy all the content coming up. Who will Chelsea play in the Carabao Cup final at Wembley? I kind of hope it's Liverpool. I'm
saying this now. Arsenal are going to beat Liverpool on penalties.
Check out Doug's channel for all the AFCON. Check out
Saka's will get head saved though.
If you want to see a really angry Nathan and a calm Paul, check out Nathan's vlogs, and keep an eye on my channel for any content that comes out. So everyone, enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you later.